much moisture and stuff. I would like to just replace it, but price also does come into it too, because you know, finding a replacement at a good price sometimes can be hard. I know some of these Walbro carbs run pretty expensive, so over $100 something. So I mean, if you can clean it and get it running, that's always a great option. But being that you're going to sell this to a customer too, you want to make sure that it's okay. So and blow through it and stuff. Long as the needle will seat, that's my main concern. In here, I don't know if you guys can see this, but in there is a brass seat or an inlet valve. And what happens is that wears out over time. So when that wears out over time, what happens is the float closes and it pushes the needle up in there, but it doesn't stop the gas flow. So then what happens is gas continues to run and pour out, and it gets into the crankcase and it tears up the cylinder. So what we're going to do now is I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up real quick, and I'm going to show you how to test that, just so you know, you guys can see this for the future. I'm going to clean the needle up real quick just in case. And there's a way to test this. You want to clean up the needle real good. The needle has a rubber tip right there. It's a rubber tip on it. So you want to clean all that up really, really good. You can replace them if you want. The rubber tip on this one's pretty good. It's not cracked or anything. And after you clean that up, let's clean up your float. Float was pretty funky too. Everything on this thing was pretty funky. Just been sitting out in the weather quite a while. Let's clean up the float really good. Here we go. Float's not in bad shape either. It's actually really good. We'll reuse the float too. So clean up the float. Okay, now what we're going to do is we'll clean the pin up too. I'm going to try to see if we can keep using this pin for a little bit. I don't think that, being that it wasn't seized on there, I think it's just got some junk. I don't think it's pitted or anything too bad. No, it actually is not. It's got some varnish. Maybe a tiny bit of rust, but nothing. There we go. So go ahead and clean that up pretty good. So here's what we're going to do. Alright, under normal circumstances here, you would put your needle back in on your float, just like that. And you would take it and you would set it like this. Set it so this goes in there like that. Now once it does, you'd put your pin back through here. Okay, now if the pin's back through, you should not, when it's hanging down, the needle's dropped. So you should be able to blow in it. That's great. It's gas flowing in. Now as it fills up within the bowl, when we put another bowl on it, this float's going to close. So when you flip it upside down, when you flip it directly upside down, that float's closed. You should not be able to blow at all. Most of the time, you can, if it's leaking, you'll hear the faintest whisper. Hear that? Listen, see if you guys can hear this. Hear that? What that is the needle's not sealing. It's the faintest little bit of a, that you can hear, just this faint little thing. So now what would happen is if I put this carburetor back on and filled it up with gas, it would start trickling past the bowl, and then it would run down. If the carb is upside down, it would run down through here, down into the crankcase, mixed with the oil while it's running, and it would either blow your motor up or lock your motor up, or your motor would shut off and you wouldn't have compression again. A lot of my customers on Just Answer, they come out and they just put gas in it from the next year, the following year, and try to fire it up, and or they'll pick up a mower that sat for years and just throw gas in it and try to start it. And you can't do that, because what happens is, like I just showed you, when it's hanging down, blowing great. When it's closed, that float's closed now. You should not be able to blow in it at all. Hearing that? You can blow in it. And it's the tiniest bit, you wouldn't know. So what happens is it just ends up costing you the engine. So for now, we're going to call it a night, because there's not going to be any getting this thing running tonight. It's going to need a carburetor at this point, which totally stinks, but nature of the game. I'll check on eBay, see if I can find something used, or I'm probably going to go with something either new, or I'll go with something that's been pulled off of a piece of equipment that is at least rebuildable, because right now the condition that this carb's in, I don't really feel comfortable taking a chance trying to rebuild it. I don't think it's going to be that beneficial. And what we'll do is we'll get another carb for it, and I'll go through the process of rebuilding that one if it needs to be, or if not, I'll show you how to reinstall. And we will, from that point, go ahead, after we reinstall and hook up linkages, we'll drain the oil and everything and see if we can get it to fire up. At least see what we have as far as a running, driving tractor. Again, this is John with Proficient Mower. Just showing you guys how to remove a carb, how to go ahead and what to check for, make sure that the inlet valve is not bad. And the problem with that a lot of times is it is not the needle. Putting another needle in this won't fix it. It's the inlet valve that the needle sits in. It's brass, and brass being the softest of metals, it wears. It doesn't help that this thing has got rust in it. It's probably pitted deep in there. So I'm going to price them out, and we'll either rebuild this one. I'm going to try to avoid rebuilding it, but we'll go with what's best cost efficient, but at the same time give this tractor a good running carb. Again, this is John with Proficient Mower. Thanks for tuning in. You guys have a great week. All right, thanks. Bye.